Hey guys, Joe DeMarco from the Crazy New York Driver Show for Friday, May the 9th, 2025. Welcome to another eBay video. Today we're going to be discussing some more eBay topics that I think you guys will find very interesting. The topics I'm going to cover will be cancellations, more negative and neutral feedback. I'm going to talk more about a message we all hate to receive. What is your lowest price? I'd also like to talk a little bit about a swap meet I went to over the weekend. I think you guys will enjoy that. I'm going to talk more about those troublesome geriatrics and as much as I can squeeze into a half an hour show. So that being said, let's get right into today's topics as best we can. I'm going to start off by talking about cancellations. I had something crazy happen to me this week. Just crazy. It involves all the troublesome aspects of eBay, including geriatrics, people with the wrong address on file, everything. Now, you may remember the beginning of this story because I talked about this actually 4 weeks ago, I think. Remember I told you guys the story about an old guy with a Mercury Grand Marquis bought an alloy wheel hub for $12. $12, okay? And I waited a while before I boxed it up. It was on a Saturday evening. Let's say I waited a couple of hours. Nothing. All right. I print the label. I box it up. Whammo. Here comes the dancing. Oh, no, don't send it to that address. I've got to give you a new address. He waited purposely, in my opinion, till I printed that label. And this is not the first time that has happened. Now, this puts me in a bit of a weird position because normally my policy is if that label's printed and it's boxed, it's going no matter what, okay? That policy has worked very well for me in the past. This case was a little bit different because he's telling me that the address on file is no good. I mentioned it to you guys 4 weeks ago, and some of you guys said that I should go ahead and just ship the item out anyway, and I would be covered by eBay protection. Quite frankly, I wish I would have listened to you. What I decided to do was I decided to cancel the transaction, void the label, and block this nut job. That's what I did. So I wrote back to him, and I said, no, that's not how it works. You're required to have a valid address with eBay. Since you didn't, I will go ahead, cancel the transaction, and I'm going to give you a full refund, and I'm going to block you. I may have showed you the screenshot to that about 4 weeks ago. I don't know. But anyway, I thought that was the end of it. Until earlier this week, when I got a negative feedback from this piece of crap, this 80-year-old piece of trash. He wrote something to the effect, I supplied the wrong address and I asked the seller to cancel and ship to a different address. He refused and he blocked me. Avoid this seller at all costs. That's paraphrasing it, okay? Now, I know that I can get this negative feedback removed because he's violating eBay procedure by not having his proper address on file and trying to change the terms of the sale after and even admitting to it in the feedback. And I called eBay, or I requested a callback, and of course they agreed with me. Bang, right away removed it. So I posted this particular screenshot and story in one of the Facebook groups. I was curious to see what the other sellers would say. What would you guys have done if you were me? And I want honest answers here. Again, you sell a dirt cheap item for $12, hear nothing, hours go by, but as soon as you print the label, the dancing starts and he wants it shipped to a different address. Would you have done what I did? Cancel a transaction, give him a refund, block him, and move on? Or would you have voided the label, then cancel the transaction, put the item back up, and let him repurchase the $12 item? Now be honest, okay? I'm not going to bite your head off if you say that you don't like my decision, as long as you say it respectfully. So anyway, I submitted this question to the group, and I would say about half the people agreed with me, but half the people didn't. And 2 or 3 of the people that didn't were really fervent about it and said that this happens to them all the time and that I should have relisted the item and let this joker buy from me again. I feel I made the right decision, and if it happens again, I'm going to do the same thing. Okay? The same thing. Now, what's interesting, here's where it gets a little bit dicey. After I got the negative feedback, I decided to check his history, and I was shocked. Shocked about 2 things. Number 1, he's mainly a seller, not a buyer, which is very rare. Usually sellers don't like to neg other sellers, because you know I don't. Over the years, I've showed you so many examples where I should have negged sellers and I didn't. Even worse, he sells in eBay Motors. And even worse, he sells hubcaps. My competition. It has been suggested to me by many people that this particular person was trying to drop ship my $12 item to one of his customers. And I think that that's probably the truth. I don't care if he's drop shipping it or not myself. As long as he puts the address in and pays, I'll ship it wherever. But changing the rules after the die has been cast doesn't fly with me. I'd like your opinion on that. While we're on the topic of feedback, I'm going to read a feedback to you. I don't think I read you this one last week. If I did, well, you get to hear it again. Tell me what you think of this feedback. Received within the allotted time. The condition was good and the quality acceptable. Threads were not damaged. Great price for product and shipping. Appearance is good with minimal wear and well packaged. Does that sound like a positive feedback to you? Not on eBay. He gave me a neutral rating. When I called eBay on another issue, I showed them that, and they said there's nothing they can do about it. Nothing whatsoever. It doesn't violate any policies. I really don't know how this guy could have been so happy and left me a neutral rating. I checked his history, and he's fairly generous with the neutrals. So I guess that's just the way he rolls. Oh well, let's move on to the next fun topic, and that's going to be returns. I take returns for any reason for 30 days. I think eBay has done a very good job in making the return system flawless for the buyer. In fact, they make it a little too easy if you get my drift. But periodically I come across these jokers that want to circumvent the eBay return system. And that really, really triggers me. So let me tell you what happened to me earlier this week. A person signed up to eBay with 0 feedback specifically to buy my item, which was a mere $19. I've always said that the cheapest items cause the most problems. As soon as I saw I was dealing with a virgin, a 0 feedbacker, I'm scratching my head thinking, why did he join eBay to buy my item when there's plenty of other people out there selling the same item? And in some cases, the other people have them in better condition. My personal feeling is that I might have been the cheapest. But anyway, $19 plus shipping. He gets them, and he writes me through the contact system saying something to this effect. These are not the right size, so I'm going to be returning them to you. Do you by any chance have these in a slightly larger size? Keep in mind, I had all the measurements listed in the listing. And also keep in mind, I take returns for 30 days, and he has it open to return. So I'm like this, I'm thinking, why did he do that? As I'm thinking how to reply, my phone rings. The caller ID says St. Cloud, Florida. No, not happening. I do not answer out-of-state calls. Only neighboring states, such as New York, Pennsylvania, Connecticut. I'm not answering anybody from Florida because 99% chance it's eBay related, and I can't risk them demanding anything they shouldn't. Okay, I want everything in the contact system. So at this point, it didn't dawn on me what was happening. I thought it was just some random eBayer. A couple of minutes go by and I said, I wonder, could it be? I go back to the $19 item to see where I shipped it. St. Cloud, Florida. So what he did was he sent me this paragraph that I just read to you. Couldn't wait a minute for me to respond. Now he's calling me on my phone. Now we have a problem, okay? Now we have a problem that's serious, because that's not going to fly with me. You buy from me on eBay, you contact me on eBay, okay? I don't go for that crap. I'm going to read to you my exact response, which is kind of long, and I'm going to then show it to you. I wrote, before we go any further, I'm going to have to insist that you do not call me at my personal phone number. I just received a call from you and it's against eBay rules to take any of the transaction off eBay. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can address them right here in eBay messages. Now, what confuses me is that you contacted me through eBay to ask a question, which is fine. But then you still tried to contact me off eBay. All communication must remain on the eBay platform. Now that we have that out of the way, if you want to return these because you purchased the wrong size, that's fine. But it absolutely has to be done through eBay. Do not call me. Just open a return request claiming you bought the item by mistake or you bought the wrong size. And I can give you a refund of the purchase price when I receive the items back. Should you have any questions, feel free to contact me right here through eBay messages. I always answer my messages within 10 minutes during regular business hours, as you can see. But please, no phone calls. So, 24 hours go by, and he opens the return. I have no intention of sending him anything. He obviously can't read. He's going to be blocked, and that's going to be one less person out of my hair. And as far as his age is concerned, I Googled his name and address, and two people with the same name come up living at that address. Maybe the old man and his son, ages 86 and 42 respectively. I kind of get the vibe this is the son, the 42-year-old. Okay? That's my personal opinion. But yeah. Okay, let's move on now. All right. The message we all hate to get. And, you know, it stymies me that people would even do this. What is your lowest price? So what happened was the other day, I have a set of hubs listed. And a guy writes to me and says, am I getting all four or am I getting just one? The picture shows all four and the listing says four. So he's obviously a dim bulb, but okay, I can accept that question. And I wrote, if you purchase these, you'll be getting all four as pictured. That is a positive response, in my opinion. A positive response means I'm saying what the buyer wants to hear. So I would expect very shortly my phone to go ka-ching. Yet it remained silent. About an hour or two go by. Now he writes to me again. What is your lowest price? I'm not kidding. I wrote back, I said, get them from someone else. I said, you, in my opinion, are deceptive. I have the make an offer button enabled on all my listings. All you had to do was click that, make any offer you want, and we could have proceeded from there. But you circumvented that and you asked me in messages, which leads me to believe you're not a serious buyer. I'm blocking you and you won't even be able to respond to me. And I blocked him. The only weird thing, he was still able to respond to me. So I guess blocking somebody doesn't stop them from contacting you in messages. I thought it did, unless of course you had a history and they were contacting you about something they bought. But he never bought from me before, so I don't know why that happened. But I just shook my head in disbelief. People still will ask that. That is an automatic block for me. Okay. Something that's been bugging me for the longest time, and it seems to be getting worse, not better, is my number of positive feedbacks not increasing, even though I'm getting several per day. So what happened is, recently I went to bed, and let's just say the last two numbers of my feedback was 20. Everybody, all of you guys know your last two numbers. So when you click on it, if you see it's anything less than what it was when you went to bed, you know you got a problem. So I see when I get up the next day, it's still at 20. On a hunch, I click my feedback and I see 3 new positive feedbacks have rolled in that were not there the night before. 3 of them. So it should have kicked me up to 23. I'm still at 20. This is something that's been happening to me quite often, several times a week, and I don't know why. Have you guys noticed this as well? It really does stymie me. At this point, I would like to tell you a funny story, and it involves a swap meet I went to over the weekend. I go to swap meets because I can get a lot of good deals there. I buy a lot of stuff. I always go with 1 or 2 of my friends. And it's a very exhaustive process, walking around a huge track, buying everything, lugging a 300-pound garbage can full of heavy metal items. It's a lot of work. Going back, dumping it off, coming back, making trips. Thankfully, they only have it twice a year, which is, I guess, a good thing. So, I like to approach each vendor and engage them in conversation when I see something that they have that I'm interested in. Most of the vendors tend to be older people, all right? Usually older than me, but some are my age and some are even younger. So I saw this one older guy who was about late 70s, and he had 4 Plymouth Duster hubs. Now, I don't really need them because I have a set listed on eBay right now. They've been listed for over a year and they haven't gone anywhere. But he had a nice set, and I'm sentimental to those hubcaps because I had a teacher in middle school who drove a 1970s model Plymouth Duster. And these were those exact same hubcaps, and I think they're cool. So I figured I would ask the guy how much he wanted, and if the price was low enough, I'd buy him. If not, I wouldn't. So I asked him what he wanted. He wanted $50. I said, no, I can't go anywhere near that. Then he immediately drops it to $40. I said, no, sir, I'm sorry. I said, I'll be honest with you. The most I really would consider spending is $20, and I really don't want them. And he said, oh, no, you ain't getting it for no $20. I got to get $40. I said, no problem. I said, I totally understand. You do what you got to do. I said, sometimes when I know I'm not going to make a deal, I mess with them a little bit, and I introduce myself as somebody. Sometimes I introduce myself as Dr. Quincy, just to get a, I want to see their reaction. Or sometimes I even introduce myself as Cute Joey. I mean, who's going to know who Cute Joey is? So I said to the guy, I realize you don't know who I am, but I'm really surprised you wouldn't give Cute Joey a deal. And he says to me, I know exactly who you are. I know who you are. And I thought he was going to say, you're the guy that goes around and buys up all the hubcaps and sells them for a profit. But he surprised the hell out of us when he said, you're the guy that makes the videos on YouTube. I've seen your videos. Just don't call me a dickhead. I swear to God he said that. And my friend was with me and we were laughing at it like crazy. And this was an older guy, late 70s. And I was surprised, really surprised that he watched my videos. But that really made an impression on me. It made me laugh really hard that he actually recognized me, because I'd never seen him before in person, And I guess he's seen me on the videos and he remembered me. Here I was trying to be incognito, but he knew exactly who I was. We had a good time. We did well at the swap meet. As I've talked about swap meets before, there are different type sellers as far as the attitude is concerned. Some sellers are just happy to get anything for their items. They'll say something like, my old man was 89 years old and he just passed away, and man, whatever you give me is found money. I'm glad to get rid of it. Love those people. Then you got people who'll start high but will come down. The one that comes to mind in that respect was a guy, I'd say he was younger than me. I'd say in his 40s. And he had a set of Riviera wires that I wanted. They weren't mint, but they were really nice. I saw them. I said, how much do you want for these Riviera hubs? And he says to me, listen, I've got to get $100 for them. That's where I'm at. 100. I said, no. I said, I really can't go that high. I'm sorry. And he says, no problem. I can't go down a penny on these. 100 and I'm firm. I said, listen, you don't have to apologize to me. You do what's best for you. You got to get it. You got to get it. Maybe someone else will buy them. I can't go 100. All right, have a good day. I start to walk away. What's your best price? He says to me. I was shocked that he even said that. So I responded, sir, I'll be honest with you. I'm going to give you one price. This is the most I can go. If you take it, great. If you don't, that's great too. I said, my offer is $50. So yeah, I was absolutely shocked when I told him $50 was my best offer, and he said, give it to me. He went from $100 to $50 in the blink of an eye. So I purchased them, and I will be listing them in the near future. So that worked out good. All in all, we had a productive weekend. Bought some good stuff. Saw a lot of familiar faces. And there's that. Getting back to eBay, did any of you guys tune in on Wednesday for the eBay seller check-in. They didn't really cover any new ground per se, at least nothing that I saw. The one thing I wrote in about, because you're allowed to write in questions, is this eBay International Shipping Program. I am having an issue. I'm getting at least 3 international buyers each week. And you can always tell they're either from the Netherlands or Germany. They write to me saying, Joe, I want to buy your item and eBay will not let me buy it. What's going on? And the reason is because certain countries will not allow used auto parts to be imported. So eBay blocks those countries from buying. And I try and explain it to the people, and they all come back and say, well, Joe, that's not true because I've been buying auto parts from other people and the sales always go through and it's only you that seems to be blocking us. So I posed that question to the eBay employees on Wednesday at the event, and they seemed to say, if I understood them correctly, that I have everything set up correctly, but that the other sellers, some of them, may not be fully disclosing everything or maybe listing it under a different category to circumvent the fact that it's a used auto part. Me, I'm not sure what's going on, but all I know is I'm losing a lot of sales. The eBay employee told me that I could ship the items directly to Germany or the Netherlands, but then I would lose my eBay seller protection, and there's no way I'm doing that. No way. eBay gives very good seller protection for international sales. If they gave that kind of seller protection domestically, we would all be sitting pretty. But such is not the case. As I said in last week's video, goodbye and good riddance to Bonanza. That ship is sinking faster than the Titanic. They brought it on themselves. I expect them to probably file Chapter 51 in the very near future. Sales this week were extremely slow. Horrible. Horrible. Out of the 7 days this week, I had 2 days that were pretty decent. All the rest was slow. And one day I made a whopping $12. And that is my week in eBay. I'm Crazy New York Driver, you're not. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you found it helpful and informative. I was not able to go out last week to film for a New York City exploration video because it rained. It was terrible on Sunday. Cold, rainy, wet. I'm hoping to go out this Sunday and work on something. So we'll see what happens. Hope you guys make a lot of money on eBay this week. Rock on and peace.